turn now to our CBS News Justice reporter Paula Reid, who is in our Washington bureau. So Paula, that statement coming against the backdrop of former FBI Director Robert Mueller being chosen to head this probe. Just last week, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein said he was not open to a special prosecutor. So was the decision to bring Mueller on a shock?
I was quite surprised that Rosenstein gave up this investigation since the moment that he took over as Deputy Attorney General. Elaine, he has been so reluctant to hand over this investigation, which was quite complicated when he first inherited it. He just said repeatedly, he said, look, career investigators here at the Department of Justice, they're trained to handle even highly political matters in an objective way. It was clear he did not want to give this up. It was sort of a matter of pride. But after the events of the past 48 hours, Elaine, we've heard about this memo. There's reporting that FBI Director Comey memorialized conversations that he had with the president that could potentially be obstruction of justice. Elaine, we asked if the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, was aware of this memo. The Department of Justice declined to comment, and that's very interesting because they've been very aggressive about knocking down any sort of false reports or anything that makes this whole Russia inquiry any more controversial or murky than it already is. So, Elaine, based on the events of the past 24 hours, it is not a surprise Rosenstein was really left with no other option.
Yeah, that is interesting. You point that out, choosing not to deny a statement. Paula, why did the Justice Department decide to choose Bob Mueller, and how is the pick being perceived?
We weren't given a lot of insight into the selection process. We were just given a little bit of a heads up and talked to some senior officials about the decision before we were able to report it. But the decision has been widely praised. I mean, you cannot get someone with more impeccable law enforcement credentials than Robert Mueller. He is supported by people on both sides of the aisle. And right now, Elaine, this is what they need. They need a clear leader, because you have the Attorney General, who is the head of the Justice Department and the FBI as well. He's recused himself. Rod Rosenstein is technically in charge of this, but the head of the FBI was just fired. There's an acting deputy. Elaine, it's hard to tell who's on first. So now what you have is you have a clear leader, and he's one of them. He is an FBI guy. He understands how they operate. He will command their respect. It seems like sort of a brilliant choice for Rod Rosenstein to select a special counsel.
Well, with the special prosecutor just being named, do we know if there are any specific people being targeted in this investigation?
The FBI has not given any targets on the record. They've not said this person or that person is under investigation. We certainly know that the actions of some people related to the campaign, specifically Michael Flynn, they're under scrutiny. And they are looking at those actions to determine whether or not anyone broke federal law in the course of their relationship to the campaign or anything leading up to 2016. Elaine, there's also a question of, well, what if they find other crimes in the course of this investigation? And the scope of this is pretty broad. Any other wrongdoing that they find, obstruction of justice, anything else, is likely to come under Mueller's authority in this investigation.
Well, Paula, how does the appointment of a special prosecutor affect the current FBI investigation taking place?
Well, it's interesting. The same people who are working on the FBI investigation now, the rank and file folks who do the work day in and day out, they could come with Mueller and stay under his authority. He could choose to keep them all on. Seeing that he's a former FBI director, he seems almost very likely to do that, because he will know how skilled they are, how good they are, and realize that they're not really the root of the political problem here. So it is possible that Mueller will actually just sort of collect these rank and file people from the FBI and just take them under his umbrella and not really disrupt the day-to-day work that much.
Well, and Paula, what does all this mean for the potential of Jim Comey testifying publicly and the memo going public?
It does not seem to me that this will impact whether James Comey will or will not testify. We were told earlier today that he very much would like to testify. He has not responded to that specific invitation that was extended by Representative Jason Chaffetz, but he would like to do it at some time. I think the only thing that could be impacted here, Elaine, is potentially the timing. Perhaps he'll wait a little bit longer. But the fact that they've appointed a special prosecutor, that doesn't take away sort of these questions about obstruction of justice and what other memos Comey could have potentially memorialized and what they say. So there's still a lot more questions for him to answer.
And Paula, what's next then for this investigation?
Well, now it seems like every day, Elaine, there's some sort of huge new revelation in this investigation. So I'm hesitant to say what happens next. But I think the hope is that if you put Mueller in charge of this investigation, that it will possibly take some of the political temperature down. But most importantly, I think what Rod Rosenstein is trying to do is restore the confidence of the American people. He is trying to maintain the integrity of the institution of the Department of Justice. He's been there for decades. He served presidents of both parties. I think that's his #1 goal here. Is he knows this is a mess. It's going to continue to be controversial. It will continue to be a hot topic. But he just wants the people in the United States to trust the outcome. And I think that's what he kind of hopes going forward, now that he's appointed a special prosecutor.
All right, Paula Reid in Washington for us. Paula, thank you.